Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Lamar here. It's been quite a while since I did a video update. I usually just post on all my social media outlets, but I thought it would probably be a good idea to just post a quick video so that people can sort of get the full picture of what's going on with me. I know many of you saw the post that I just posted about the lung biopsy that I just had a few weeks ago and getting the results. And I definitely appreciate the prayers and the concern. But there's a backdrop to this biopsy and what led to it as to why I'm not particularly concerned or overwhelmed by it. And so, for those who just started following me on social media, don't have the whole picture, let me sort of just give you a synopsis of what's been going on with me in this battle with cancer over the last 3 years. So, fall of 2020, just around this time of the year in 2020, I went in with some problems, and long story short, I was eventually diagnosed with colorectal cancer, which I later on discovered was more rectal than higher up in the colon. And so I went through treatment, and that first go round, it was pretty much a straight line. I did radiation. I think it was 28 treatments, and then did 6 chemo treatments that happened every other week, so about 3 months, and then went in and had surgery, and everything went well. And so in 2021, after my surgery in June of 2021, came out, doctor got all the cancer out, everything was good, had about a year of remission, and then on my annual colonoscopy in June 2022, that's when we discovered that the cancer had come back. Now, at the time, June 2022, it was localized. As a matter of fact, the tumor came back in the exact spot that the first tumor was. And so the approach was to do proton therapy. And so many of you follow that journey. That was treatments twice a day. I believe I did 26 treatments, but it was twice a day. And those treatments were spread out by 6 hours. And so I did all of that successfully. Everything went well, and was preparing to have another surgery to remove what was left of that tumor. But then I ran into, after having scans, discovering that my body didn't quite heal from the radiation. And so they delayed the surgery. Well, for those of you who don't know, at the time, that was the only place that the cancer was. So they delayed it until January. But my wife and I were celebrating our anniversary. We had planned an anniversary cruise. And so my surgeon said, it's not going to hurt to push it back till after you come back from the cruise. And so let's just do it when you get back. Well, prior to every surgery, I have to have additional CT and MRI scans. And the scan that was done right before I was supposed to have the surgery, when I was coming back from our anniversary trip, discovered that I had spots in my lungs, 3 spots. And at the time, they were very tiny. I think 2 of them were 2 millimeters and 1 was 7 millimeters at the time. And so because the spots in the lung were really too small to biopsy, my doctors decided to treat it as if the cancer had spread, that it had metastasized to the lungs, primarily because they weren't concerned about it being lung cancer. That sort of presents in a different way. But just based on everything that was going on, they decided that, this is probably a cancer that spread from the rectal tumor. We're going to treat it as such, and we're going to start you on chemo. Well, then many of you know, in March of this year, I had to have an emergency surgery because I ended up having a large bowel obstruction, which can happen, especially when you re-radiate in the same areas. And so, long story short, I had to have emergency life-saving surgery, which resulted in me now having a permanent colostomy. But I should say, side note, that was actually going to happen anyway, according to my surgeon, because of the fact that the cancer came back in the same spot. He had already removed half of the rectum in the first surgery and was going to have to remove more. And, the options were to not have a colostomy, but constantly have trouble, or to have the colostomy to maintain my quality of life. And so that was going to happen anyway. And so I wasn't really sad about that. We had processed that for over a year. It just so happened that this emergency surgery meant that happened sooner than we anticipated. And so while I was in the hospital, there was debate about whether or not they should go ahead and try to biopsy the lung while I was already in the hospital because of the emergency surgery. And they agreed that they felt it was still too small. And so after that surgery, I did chemo. And so the plan was to do 12 treatments. I made it to 7 of the treatments, and then I started having some pain. And the concern at that time was that the original tumor that was in the rectum was somehow maybe resisting the chemo and it was growing. But thank God it turned out that was not the case. After doing another scan, it was actually the tumor was actually responding. Both the lung and the original tumor were responding well to the chemo, and they were actually shrinking. The problem was that the chemo was actually impacting healthy parts of my body, kind of breaking down the lining and of some of the organs around the tumor, and it was just causing pain. And so they suspended chemo because they didn't want to continue to give me that without addressing the symptoms that it was causing. And so many of you know I went in and had a nerve block, which did a tremendous job in stopping the pain. I no longer have any pain, thank God. But that was an entire process in and of itself to make sure that we dealt with the pain before we tried to do any chemo. So what ended up happening is, while we had suspended the chemo to address the pain, they decided, let's go ahead and try to get a biopsy on the lung. Now, when they started chemo without the biopsy, they were 99% sure that it was metastasized cancer, and that my cancer moved from stage 3 to stage 4. And so we went ahead and started the treatment. That's why I did 7 of the 12 treatments. But they thought that it would be a good time to go ahead and get a biopsy so that we can confirm. And so the biopsy that I had a couple of weeks ago, that I just got the results and shared with you, it did confirm that one of the 3 spots was indeed colorectal cancer that had spread. But to be honest with you, it was not a surprise to me or my wife, because again, we went into treatment assuming that when the spot showed up, that it was metastatic cancer. So let me just say, I appreciate the prayers and the concern, but honestly, I remain unshakable. My wife remains unshakable. It's probably more surprising news to you all, but not necessarily surprising news to me, because again, the only reason I was doing chemo again is because they found the spots in my lungs. And so I was more than halfway done with the treatment for those spots before we got any confirmation that it was indeed cancer. And we did that because the doctors strongly believed that's what it was, and I trusted them. And so this biopsy just confirms what we already knew months ago, and why I was doing chemotherapy treatments again, and why I had already done 7 of the 12 treatments. Now, I have an appointment. I have an MRI on Monday, and then I have another appointment on Wednesday. And so I'm hoping in that appointment we will discuss restarting treatment. And so what I was told that will look like prior to the results of the biopsy is either sending me to radiation, to do radiation on the spots in my lungs, or really the one spot now that we know is cancer. The other two, they say, are benign. So the option was to do radiation on that, because again, the spot is very small, but it is cancer. And so it's small enough to radiate and be able to kill at this stage. So what I was told prior to this is it will either be sending me back to chemo and then do radiation on the lungs, or send me to radiation, which my radiation oncologist said would only take about 5 treatments. And so it's either do the radiation first and then finish the chemo, or finish the chemo and do the radiation. So that's where we stand. So I just wanted to kind of give you the Cliff Notes version, help you all catch up, because I know many people are surprised, especially when you hear stage 4. But quite honestly, I don't want you to quit praying, but I don't want you to be alarmed. My faith remains strong and unshaken. My wife is still strong. Our family is still strong and unshaken. This is something that we knew months ago. We treated it as if it was cancer that had spread. That's why I was going through the chemo treatments, and I'm more than halfway done with those. And again, the spot remains very small. And so I do want you to keep praying, to keep sending your words of encouragement. But I did want to just come on and kind of give you a synopsis of what's going on and why I'm not shaken by that, and why my family's not shaken by that, and just let you know that we're good. My faith remains strong. I'm going to finish this treatment, and it is my prayer and my goal to finish and wrap up all of this treatment, and to have the surgery that I never had, that I was supposed to have at the end of last year, and to do all that before this year closes. And so make that your prayer with me, that we can finish this thing off by the end of 2023 and be cancer free. But I did just want to come on and let you know what's going on, let you know why I'm not personally alarmed by those results. Stage 4, that term doesn't scare me. It doesn't make me nervous, because we had already walked through this months ago and had already started treatment on it. So again, keep praying. Just want to let you guys know what's going on, let you know that I remain unshaken, and just let you all know that I love you, and I thank you for all of your concern and your prayers. Peace.